Hi, I'm Kevin Keller, the Pragmatic Statistician. In this episode of Street Stats, we're going to talk about whether we use a range chart or a standard deviation chart in SPC when our subgroup sizes are greater than 1. Now, when dinosaurs roamed the earth, calculators and computers didn't exist. Calculating an average is relatively simple. Range is super simple, max minus min. But standard deviation is hard regardless of how many values there are. The last time I did a standard deviation calculation by hand, disco was finally on its way out. Now, depending upon your source of information and training, somewhere around a subgroup size of 8 to 10, you are told use an S chart. You were given a rationalization that an R chart uses only 2 points while an S chart uses all of them. And we move on and we trust because the fire hose is full on at this point. And a quarter of the way through the 21st century, where we now have calculators on our phones, we're still following this advice and not questioning it. So let's quickly talk about the efficiency of the range to the standard deviation. Standard deviation uses all of the data. Fancy statisticians call this an efficient statistic. Well, in all honesty, there's more to it, but only statisticians care. So let's look at a table of efficiency comparing range to standard deviation. So as you look at this, you might be sitting there going, now wait a minute, Kevin. If range of n equals 2 uses all of the data, why isn't it 100% efficient? That is a great question. To save your eyeballs rolling in the back of your head, it has to do with the standard deviation is a better estimator of the true variability than the range is. But we're still at 88%, so close enough. Up to a subgroup size of 5, we're at least 68% efficient, which would mean 2/3 of the time or better is good enough for government work. And we move on. Now, depending upon your source of information, somewhere between 50 to 60% of efficiency, we all agree that standard deviation is better. So somewhere between subgroup sizes of 8 to 10, we now use an S chart. But riddle me this, Batman. Why wouldn't I always use an S chart? Computer doesn't care. Clicking the option for X bar and R or X bar and S is equally taxing on my finger. Then I'm always using the most efficient statistic. This cutoff point of R chart versus S chart dates back to dinosaurs trying to justify the pain of calculating a standard deviation. Now, there are 2 reasons I would use an R chart. I'm doing it manually. Now, that makes total sense. But I'd question in the year 2025, why are you doing it by hand? But having been in several small facilities over the years, I can believe there are still manual charts out there. That's all right. The other is this. If you do it on the computer, the people that have to actually interpret the chart don't understand the standard deviation, but they do understand range. And it's hypercritical that they interpret that range statistic. Okay, I can buy that second argument to a degree, but here's where I get off that train. You have, or should have, a reaction plan if the S chart goes out of control. So whether it is range, whether it is standard deviation, doesn't matter. My experience is that our team members are not getting that deep into the math. Higher is worse, lower is better. True for both. Unless you are doing it manually, why would you ever use a range chart? Select an S chart and you will have a better estimate of the truth in all cases. Keep it simple. So be careful out there. The streets are messy and so is data. But remember, there's always a way.